Welcome, readers, to another episode of the Bougie Book Pod. I'm Tara.
I'm Kira.
And we are back with the last book so far in the Empyrean series with Onyx Storm. We're going to be going over today, finally go over all our theories and deep dive a little bit. Yeah.
There are so many theories, though. I just can't.
So many. And so many that I see one, I'm like, oh my God, yes. But then I'll read the comments.
Someone debunks it
immediately. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that doesn't work, does it? But you just keep seeing this pop up, and it's still fun.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of sad to be done with these.
I know.
Which later on, maybe we'll do rereads and
yes,
because there's so much ACOTAR reread I picked up on that I didn't catch, and I know I did not catch 50% of the things I should have in this.
Absolutely. And I was just saying before we started recording, because I was asking Kira if you remember the aisles that they go to, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And I came
up with two.
Yeah, and I was just saying, I think in my first initial read, you're so set on figuring out is everything going to be okay between Xaden and Violet that even though there's all these important things happening, it feels like it's background stuff when it's not background stuff. So yeah, a reread would be very necessary, I think, and fun to kind of see what we miss and what stands out the second time around. So Onyx Storm continues the journey of our lovely Violet Soaringale as she ventures beyond her war college, I'm not even going to say the name of it, in search of allies to combat the looming venom threat. Central to this is her bond with the dragon Andarna, which we didn't talk about a lot last time, but she is so important in this book, trying to figure out her origins and her abilities, and that is very, very important in this installment. So the narrative explores themes of identity, loyalty, and the complexities of power dynamics. We've got a significant plot twist that reveals the Mark Ones, including our lovable Xaden. They possess second signets, which we talked about last time, and adding some depth into the characters and implications for ongoing conflict. And there's still a lot of mystery around those second signets and who has what and what it really means for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So
there's just so much to this one.
Yeah, it is. So we left off Xaden at the very end of the book. Xaden is venom. And immediately you open the book and you just want to know what is going to happen. How are we going to handle this? Because the venom are the big bad, right? And so when I was looking for quotes and I did my handy dandy tabs again, I actually didn't even, the first one wasn't a quote. It was the picture of them on the wall there. And I don't remember what chapter it is, but at some point she gives Xaden what do you call it? A cuff? Bracelet, a cuff. And it was just she says something along the lines of this is to remind you of whenever you think you're going to do something bad or channel more power or whatever, this should bring you back and kind of remind you that their end game is this, that they're going to make it and they're going to sit on this wall and they're going to be able to look over at the college and kind of be like, we did it, we survived. And so by her putting this at the very front of the book, I mean, I wrote down that's the end game, and I'm just wondering is this what the series is going to end with? That's my hope. That they make it.
It was interesting that this one all of a sudden randomly had this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like it's important. Why is that there? And also notice the chocolate cake.
I also want to point out this picture. I don't. Sorry, who the artist who did this?
Don't like his hair?
I don't like his hair. I don't like her hair. My God, that's the thickest hair I've ever seen in my life. That's not realistic. And I was just kind of I also don't feel like that represents their height difference.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just really picky about my fan art.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I think the hair is, there are some girls out there who have very thick, luscious, beautiful hair. I'm not one of them.
Not either.
Us fair hair girls, we don't get that a lot. But I'm bothered by the hair. I'm not gonna lie. Like something looks kind of off about his face. But I'm not trying to focus on that. I'm trying to focus on like this is the end game, and I hope it works out for them. So that's the first thing that stood out to me.
Yeah.
What about you?
What
else did I put?
Like, if we're talking about quotes, I actually marked it wasn't for a while now.
Uh-huh.
But what I thought was interesting starting this book is in the last one, in Iron Flame, we were talking about how Fourth Wing and Iron Flame go like glued together, and this is not.
Yeah.
We do fast forward a touch. It doesn't feel like excessive because we start with like Xaden questioning Jack because they've got Jack hostage, and obviously Xaden's very interested in Jack now because like he needs to figure some stuff out. And then after that scene, it fast forwards 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, I don't know. But I guess that she couldn't really glue those two together because what would it do? Just Xaden and Violet have like an argument? I don't know. I don't know how you end that.
I kind of wanted to see like the panic of that moment of what do they do right then and there? Do they hide him? You know, I guess they talk about it a little bit later, but I would have liked that to continue the way she did the first and the second.
Yeah.
But this story continues now. So he's Venin, and I wrote down like it's just hot and cold with him in terms of him deciding we're going to make it or we're going to stick together. And then like the next day it's no, I need to be away from you. It was a little exhausting.
Yeah.
But then within all of that of this hot and cold and like I really need to be so far away from you, we need to be careful, then he decides to become a professor at the school, which has implications because there are very strict rules about dating students.
Yes.
And so they can't share a room, they can't be together, and so I guess that's his way of being around, but not being close.
So, I mean, honestly, this one has so much going on.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh, I keep hitting my mic.
I'm trying to even process where we start.
What to focus on?
Yeah, because in my head, it immediately goes to like the quest squad.
Yeah, so let's start with that because the first thing I marked down was talking to Andarna.
Yes.
And basically she's just, talking about how her magic feels different when she changes color. She notices in the battle in the last book she was able to burn one of the venin. And apparently you can't do that. So there's something special about her.
So she becomes like, not like she wasn't important before because like obviously she was. We just didn't have as much of her. But she's so important in this one because they realize her kind in their connection to getting rid of the venin and the dates and how everything lines up. They've decided that like they have to go on this quest to find the rest of her kind.
Yeah.
To find the answers, to get them to come fight for them, whatever it may be. And which is also tricky because we got rid of Varish, which I kept calling Varnish. Oops. So we get rid of him and we're immediately replaced with frickin' Dane's dad.
Well, he takes over. Yeah, he takes over for Violet's mom, who dies in the last book. So now he is in charge of the college.
So it's like just when you're like, okay, things are going really bad, but we got rid of him, so things are going to go right. Yeah. No. He comes in, and I'm not going to say he's worse than Varish, but he is no better.
No, he's not, and he really, really loves the power that he has just stepped into. Like, he has been waiting for this moment.
Which I love, though, because Dane is on his redemption arc, so, Dane's not having it.
Yes, and then at some point, so we have to go on this journey. They have no idea where to start, but they just know that Andarna is nothing like they know before. At this point, they don't even know what she's called, like what her kind is called. And so I forget how it all begins, but Violet gets in her head that her dad left something behind in her mom's office. Actually, no. Who was it that told her when in the very first book, they snuck into her mom's office as a squad to prove.
Yeah, they were doing something and they had to
to steal something.
They had to steal something of significance. So they were obviously like, if we can get out of Violet's mom's room.
Exactly. And it was in that moment that one of them, and I can't remember, it wasn't Violet, one of them saw something.
Probably Riddick.
Probably saw something in the mom's office, like a drawer that was locked. And then she just assumed like that's where my dad's papers would be because she knows her mom saved it. And so she has it in her head that we've got to get that out of there because I think that's going to help us with this quest. He knew more.
Yeah. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but Eidos Dane has to do because now it's his dad's office and only he can like cross the threshold.
Exactly. So only a family member can cross the threshold. And she like, I know we just kind of like got back on good terms, but can you do this illegal thing for me? And he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a day.
He despises his dad. He'll do anything against his dad.
Yes, and so I really love that. So he goes in and he gets the book for her. Then of course it's not that easy. There's like a code on it, and she had to figure out what the code is. And if you get the code wrong, it destroys the book.
Yes, it was. You had like a certain amount of tries, I think, and it was essentially it had to do with his mom's first or someone's first love.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, I remember it was 6 letters.
Yeah.
Because it's the same amount of letters as Halden we'll talk about.
Okay.
But obviously Violet's like, there's no way in hell that's going to be the code. Yeah. But it was her mom's dragon's name, I believe.
Gotcha.
I can't remember what it was.
Aimsir?
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm not going to lie to you. If you're not Riddick's dragon, Violet's dragon, Xaden's dragon, I don't even know who Kath belongs to. Is that Dane's dragon?
Girl, I only know Violet and Xaden's dragon.
I just know the name Kath is a dragon.
That's cool. I'm real sorry, but...
No disrespect to the dragons.
No disrespect to any character.
Honestly, actually, she does put a little thing in here so we can see...
Oh, yes, it's right here in the beginning. Okay.
Oh, good. I mentioned Kath. Not on here.
She's gonna say I don't see it, Kath.
But also Dane isn't written on here. I really think it's Dane.
So maybe it is.
I remember Kira Lair, the Griffin, because I was
because Kira. Also, there is a Tara in this book.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There was also... This is a big side note, but in the last book, there was a character who had a name that I once originally thought would be a good baby name, and it went off the list. And lasted maybe half a chapter and they died. And I was like, well,
okay. Well, there goes that.
Anyway, that.
Well, that's going to bother you now?
Yep, I'm going to look up. I really want to say it's Dane's.
Okay. Well,
yep. Kath is Dane's.
Okay, good girl.
All right, figured that out. Anyway, so, they're back at the War College because...
That's what they do.
Have to be back there again.
Yes, because, that's because Arisha, the wards... We're not fixed.
They're not fixed. They're still down.
So the safest place is the Basquiat, whatever you say.
Yes. So they're at the college. You've got Professor Ryerson, which I shouldn't have liked that as much as I did.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think it's because of what he teaches, and he just shows his power every time they go to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, love that.
Yeah, it's a turn on.
But while they're there, poor Sawyer, he's recovering.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, but he's spending time with Jasenia and things like that. But he just can't be involved as much.
Yeah, he's lost a leg, right?
Yeah.
He's lost a leg, so he can't ride at the moment. And yeah, he feels very useless and out of the loop.
Yeah.
But what I love about the squad is that they keep him in the loop. They're going to visit him. They're talking things over with him there, like he's a part of it. And he's the one that's actually always saying, why are you here? I can't do anything. Yeah. And they're like, you will.
Yeah, and they really push him. He kind of, naturally I would think, he just shuts off the idea that he'll ever be a writer, and they push him, and it turns out. But let's see. So yeah, then they finally are like, oh, let's go get that. So Dane goes into the office. Mm-hmm. God bless Dane. Gets that. And then they're like, okay, so it's what do they call them? The Southern Isles? They say they go south to the islands?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. In my head, I picture them going
south. A 3-week trip to several different isles. I forget how many.
What's so annoying is, of course, the leadership is like, no, you should be looking here. Yeah. You should be doing this and blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember who has their back that asserts it's like, no, we're we're going here. This is what we're going to do. And I think they have to go against some orders to do it.
Yes. I really hate that I don't remember as much as I should. I'm sitting here thinking
so many details.
So many things that are happening in this book. And that's making me think, just what was the first episode we did on this? About how like the stars go down. And now that I'm reflecting more, like, yeah, I gave it 5 stars because I give everything just about 5 stars. But now that I'm reflecting on it, there are so many characters in here that at certain points I was like, wait, who was this person? Where did they come in?
Why did I? More and more complicated.
Yes, it's very complicated, which I guess is why we've got these charts of the names, because there are so many characters thrown into this story that it's hard for me to get upset when something happens to one of them because I don't even remember them in the first place.
Yeah.
And then now we've got all these places that we're going to, and even though all of these things, like big things happen, they don't get much out of it. Like the purpose of it was to try to find something, and they don't really find something. It's just like these tiny, tiny crumbs in like maybe 1 or 2 places, but the other ones seem almost irrelevant, like we didn't gain anything from.
And it's hard with this one because for some reason this was the book that I had the hardest time processing how much time had passed.
Yeah. Yes.
In like Iron Flame, time is easier because every other week, like she's traveling to see Xaden or Xaden's coming to her. So Rebecca does a really good job at the beginning of each chapter saying like by Thursday and like you can follow it. This one, it's just like, oh my God.
Like where are we? How long? It felt like it said that there's a 3-week trip. And I just felt like they were gone for months.
Which is weird because they like go somewhere and then they come back because they pick up a member.
Yeah.
They replace, they swap. So they like start this journey. And it's important to know that when they start this journey, for some unknown reason, I don't know why he shows up, but the king's son shows up, whose name is Halden, who happens to be Violet's ex, like, of course.
Yeah.
And he's a jerk.
Yeah, and it's just like, when was she hanging out with the king and his son?
They show that she knows Eric in the beginning because of just like, I think the connection of
her mom being general.
But I didn't think they were that close that she like...
Same.
Yeah. And then Halden's such a jerk, you're like...
But he's interested in Violet again because she is, I guess, hot right now.
Yeah.
But he shows up because... Not because the brother is... Well, I guess because the brother is missing, but he makes a point when he finds the brother and sees him there. He's like, did you think that we weren't going to come looking for you? And that we weren't going to figure out where you were because only a member of the family, because in the last book...
Can talk to certain...
talk to certain things, and he was able to get them into a certain room that stole the... I don't even think we talked about this, that they stole the like manuscript of some old...
Oh, the original writers.
Yeah. And the only way to
I think we did.
Did we?
Yeah, because I think that's how we brought up Eric in the last one.
And he was the only one that could access it. Yeah. And so the brother was like, did you think we weren't going to figure out that it was you? Like, you're the only one. So that's a thing. And then he wants to be on the committee or the squad that's going on this journey. And they're like, no. And that's when...
But he does. He goes. Halden goes on that's why
on the first one.
They come back because Halden goes on the first one. He F's everything up.
Yeah,
he almost gets... He gets like his guard killed. He gets all these like this whole shebang because his temper.
Yep.
And then they come back, which is
his arrogance.
Yes, he has to ride in a basket, which is so funny to me.
Yeah.
And that is one of my first quotes I marked was, oh wait, nope, there's another one I can go back to. But so then they come back, and then that's when he sees his brother, and he's like, you thought we weren't going to find you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then Eric is like, you looked at... I'll get to that, my quote, but he's like, you looked in all the places that you like, and it was so funny what places he named. So...
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, don't look surprised. You let us, this is what he says, Halden says, you've let us run all over this kingdom searching brothels and gaming houses for you all the while you've been here. And Eric says, the fact that you went searching your favorite haunts for me is just the start of where you went wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, before that, I liked this quote because when they're like, Halden, we can't take you. You're a liability. And before his brother steps up and is like, I will be the royal to represent or whatever. 253, it's Xaden. They're like, having this. They're all pissed at everyone, and they're pissed at Halden and all the stuff he did. And he's like, "Why don't you scurry into your little basket?" Because he's just like, he's such a liability. And then the next page, his brother shows up, and then he's like, "I will be our royal representative. We don't need you." So thank God they don't have to take Halden after that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the quest squad, I did forget one quote. I picked funny quotes this time because there are so many like intense quotes. It's way back at 178, and I think this is when they are debating like where they're gonna go. They're having that discussion with leadership before they've left, and they're all saying like, "This is the first time they leave, and we'll fly whenever Halden's ready." Blah blah blah. Let's keep that part of the orders intact. We'll depart the day after tomorrow. And then Violet looks, because Riddick wants to go so badly. Yeah. He's the one that names in the quest squad. He's like, I have to take care of Violet. Like, I need to be a part of this. And Violet looks at Riddick and says, "No snide remarks. I'm proud of you." And he goes, "I kept the inside thoughts inside." And I thought that was so funny.
He is one character that I feel universally everyone loves. Yes. Everyone loves Riddick.
Yeah.
He's needed and he is special.
And he's so funny in this book,
and he's so damn loyal too.
Yeah. So then, thank God, once they have Eric, this is when they like legitimately go to the Isles. And this is when things like, each Isle is wild, man. Yeah. So many things come up. They go to that one, they have to go meet this lady who knows her dad. Yes, and did she have like another book for them? Yes. She looks at Xaden and goes, "Oh my God, he described Dane exactly." And everyone's like, yeah, because the dad had just assumed that Violet was going to end up marrying Dane, and it was like, this is awkward. They end up at some where everyone's like peaceful. They end up at others where they have to fight people to even speak to anyone. Yeah. They have the truth one where they have to be quizzed and like show that they're intelligent and truthful. Mm-hmm. They have the one where they're just, it's the one aisle I remember is the one of luck, and that's when they're just given gifts based on luck. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that happen, but I think the most important piece, which this better be important in the long run, or I'm not gonna lie to you, Rebecca, I feel like you just threw this in. I wonder if it's what I marked. I marked page 268. Is it when we find someone? It's when they're at a temple. No, but that's a good spot. Go with that. Oh, okay. Mine is different. Oh, is it before or after? I don't know. Okay, cool. I don't know the aisles in order. You know what? Neither do I, but I just turned a page and it says the capital of Umbriel. Umbriel is I do remember this. Umbriel is the one that they have to fight the hell out of. Yes, at the temple. And they say, "We'll help you if you give us some eggs." Yes. I remember. And so it's like the temple of Dunn. I don't know. Listen, Dunn is my maiden last name, so I'm assuming that it's pronounced that way. Makes sense, but it could be Dune because it ends with an E. But no offense, I said Dune. You said Dune? Well, I know Dunn's spelled with the E. We'll go with that. But listen, yeah, whatever. So at the Temple of Dunn or whatever, as she's arriving to the temple, she noticed that every single one of the women there has the silver in their hair, every single one. And it says not gray, not white, but silver. And she's shocked. Xaden is shocked, and he's just like, "Do you see their hair? Like it's just like hers, like where it starts brown, but then it goes silver at the bottom." And she's like watching them, and she's wondering, like, are their bones fragile? Do they have this? Do they have that? I have to know. Never brought up again. And this is where one of the big theories comes from, is that they talk about the concept of dedication. Yeah, so in the beginning it says, on like the things from like the notices, whatever, guardians are no longer permitted to dedicate children in service to their favorite deity. And then if you go even further into that chapter, they're asking her, like, who do you choose? And
Violet's like, not the god. I choose Xaden. Like, I'm
Yeah.
always for him. And the woman's like, well, then I guess it's good we didn't complete your dedication. And she's like, my dedication to what?
Yeah.
And it's never brought up again. And so that's where like my brain is just like, I can't stop thinking about this.
And that's where the theory of like she represents Dun and he represents
Malik.
Yeah, represents Malik.
Yeah.
And then there's also this theory that, and I'm not trying to jump to the theories, but this just brings it up, that her dad, because there's, God bless, there's somewhere, and I want to say it's her mom's quote, something about what her dad did to Violet.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
So later on, Mira does learn about these things with Xaden. She's pissed that Violet's keeping things from her, but then it turns out that Mira visited their grandmother.
Yes.
And I can't remember if it was the dad's mom or the mom's mom. It's one of them that like no one's talked to for a long time. And she mentioned something about this grandmother saying something about what her dad did to Violet.
Yes.
And that's kind of like when they all stopped talking.
And that's where the theories of like her dad took her to these isles. And like some people say went to all the isles.
Yes.
With Violet, some say it was just that one, but I'm glad you brought that up because
there's something that, and at first you start thinking, well, she was always, and they never really explain this either. Like, what is with Violet that her bones are so fragile and this and that. And so you think, well, maybe he was looking for some sort of cure.
Yeah.
Then you're like, maybe it's tied to this whole venom mess. Like, what is she?
Also,
or did they try to make her something?
Exactly. This is another
in an effort to cure her fragility.
They always when they quote her dad's writings way back when, he has a different last name, which I like kind of looked up because I was like, I never picked that up. Yeah, so if you go to page, I just saw one. 275.
Oh, I'm Lieutenant Asher Daxton?
Yeah, that's her dad. But then like online, it's just like, oh yeah, that was his like quote unquote maiden name, and then he changed it to Sorengale when they got married. But then I was like, so did they change? I don't know.
So that makes me wonder, like, because she was the general, they take her name?
I guess. I don't know. If there's more to that, maybe.
Interesting.
But I read about that, and then I didn't even pick it up, and then I saw it today, and I was like, ew. No, I was going to talk about whatever Isle. It's the Isle of Truth.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about now.
See, right here. Okay, so he's captain at this point. Captain Asher Sorengale.
Okay.
So on 288, you see his quote as Sorengale.
I'm pretty sure the Isle of Truth is after the temple, no?
Yes, because then we get to the Isle of Hedion.
Cool.
I'm just looking at 288 because I know and I'm not pulling up an actual quote. This is where Rebecca throws us a lovely curveball. As if it wasn't enough to keep up with all these isles. Oh, there's this woman there. Oh my God, guess what? She's Xaden's mom.
Yeah. And
it's like Truth and Intelligence is this island or something.
Yeah, and man, is that a curveball or what? Because he is not happy to see her.
No, he's pissed because like she left. Because the way I understand it is her marriage to his dad was also a contract.
Yes.
Like she served the contract.
Yes.
Had him and like left.
Yeah.
Which like I still feel like is up for debate on why she left. Here's another thing. If that is not, if like what you said about the Isle of Dun does not come back of importance, if his mom, like, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, something needs to be rectified or explained more.
I mean, Rebecca and Sarah J. Maas and all of them, they're so intentional on what they do.
Yes.
Because it's just like, oh my God, here's Xaden's mom. Now we're staying with Xaden's mom. He has half brothers. And then all hell breaks loose at the house.
What a punch in the gut, though, to see these brothers and they're so happy and they're like running on the beach and everyone's living this like lovely little life.
What was Finn Ryerson like? Was he a dick?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, did she have no choice and there was no way he was going to let her take his son?
Yeah.
Right?
Or was it so bad to just
so
stay?
Bad that you wouldn't be with your own son? But then it's also like, if it's so bad, you're going to leave your son with someone.
And my thing is like, when I also want to know the timeline with Xaden, and maybe this is brought up, but like, how old is he when the rebellion starts compared to like when it ends?
Yeah.
Did she know the rebellion was happening and she left him? Because I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I was reading someone was like complaining about this book and all these things that don't make sense. And someone's response to it was, there's supposed to be 2 more books. Yeah. So clearly, like, you're not going to get the explanation in this one because it's leading up to something. We hope, you know. Now, if we get to the last couple of books and these are never explained, well, then we have every right to complain. Yes. But right now, it's just frustrating because we don't have the end yet.
Which is kind of cool because then it's when all the theories come up and you have those conversations and stuff like that. But I just thought that was super interesting because while they're there, they are having dinner. And thank God Violet's this brainiac and she read all of her dad's things about all these aisles ahead of time because they're having dinner. This cake is served to them. And Garrick shoves his face with this cake while Violet realizes, wait, no one in Xaden's like family.
Yeah, no one's eating that cake.
No one's eating that cake. And Garrick is over there probably like licking his fingers at this point. And it was poison.
Yeah.
So thank God she's like, okay, I know a little bit from reading this. I got to figure it out. This is when Riddick does have some good quotes. Because they're like screaming what it was in it, blah, blah, blah. They go to the chef. Riddick gets stabbed. And
I got so scared for a moment for Riddick.
He's not even upset about getting stabbed. He's upset because it cut through his jacket.
Yeah.
And he like beats the crap out of the cook. And he's like, I hate sewing. And it's just like...
You know, and to put it back just a little bit, because during that dinner, they're talking to Arik, and again, Arik is, you know, he's like the prince or whatever, and they make comments to him like, you know, well, but what do you think and what do you say? And I love this quote from him because it just, I think it just shows like what kind of person he is and what kind of king he would be.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm just here because Halden can't control his temper, and Violent didn't just bond one of our most terrifying battle dragons, but also an irid, the 7th breed. By now they know what she is.
Yeah.
Dark wielders are spreading. People are dying as we sit here. Every day we're gone could change the battle map in ways we can't begin to predict. And my kingdom is full of assholes who won't take refugees under king's orders. So tracking down the irids is our best hope of not only adding to our numbers, but maybe figuring out how we beat the Venom 600 years ago. If you fit into that solution with all your wisdom, then great. Yeah. He's just basically saying, like, I'm not making the rules here. I'm just here because I'm helping.
He also wants nothing extra. Like, Halden was like getting greedy, all this. No, he's just,
you know, like, treat me like royalty. And he's just like, no, I'm just here because we need to do this.
Yeah.
And I just love that about him.
So that's interesting because then you walk out and it's like all hell just broke loose at Xaden's mom's dinner at her house. And like, they just leave and it's like, okay, deuces.
Yeah. It's not a good family reunion.
No, it's not. But I will say, I think my next quote comes up right after they leave that one.
I mean, and these people refuse to help. Like, we're not helping.
You have to figure it out, which thank God Violet does.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what aisle we're on, because heaven forbid. Oh.
So they're heading to the next place, and I remember, like, it has magic. Like, they can feel the magic.
Dude, I have no idea what aisle we're on at this point, but my quote
This is the lucky one, I think.
I'm on 301.
Oh, okay.
I'm way back farther still.
Okay, so I think the next place they go to is, like, Zahilin.
Yes, this quote I liked because it was... Maybe they're still at the island where his mom is. I'm not really
on 301?
Sure, to be honest. On 301.
Yeah, they're still with the mom.
Okay, so they're still with the mom. And some, like, leader there is bringing up like Xaden and how he is the Duke now in a marriage contract, and Kat's like, we had it, blah blah blah, everyone get over it, yada yada. And this person, I can't remember who they are like talking about breaking the alliance and how the things are unwise, and then they're jumping to like, you know, we could secure an heir, all this stuff. Like they're trying to push for this contract for some reason, and I just like they're talking about Violet and Xaden at this point, and they're like, a marriage contract would be most wise. We could have the stuff performed in the morning at the temple, and then we could plead our assistance in the war tomorrow afternoon. I guess this is how they're saying, like, we'll align with you.
Yeah.
And Xaden is like, drop papers, and Violet's like, what? And then they're like, oh, great, excellent. Shall we go with 3 or 4 years for the contract? And I just like this quote. Yeah. Xaden goes, lifetime, anything else is unacceptable. Slides his hand in the back of my neck, of course. And then this part. And her full name for the papers is Virus Sorengale, 2 R's. And then at the bottom, he goes, my last name is tied to the title, but we could take yours. And then Garrett goes, or you could hyphenate or combine.
Riorgale Sorensen.
And I was just like, what is wrong? But Xaden has like a really light tone in a lot of parts of this book, which is so different from Xaden in Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say it's because like Xaden kind of knows what his fate is. They say this whole book is like Xaden's love letter to Violet.
Yeah.
Like earlier he says like, oh, did you and Dane ride horses a lot growing up? And everyone looks at him like, the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, and so they're wanting him to do this contract or whatever, and they're like, it's just 3 years, you know, you could sacrifice 3 years. And he's like, you can't contemplate the things I've sacrificed for Terranor. I lost my father, my freedom. Violet is the only choice I've made for myself, and I won't sacrifice her for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, not for a single day. And he goes, you would know that if you hadn't abandoned me. You would know me at all. But it's those lines that I think everybody just falls more and more in love with Xaden. He is just, this is not up for discussion.
So they go from that island to the
Island Z.
The Isle of Z.
There we go.
Which is the Luck.
Yes.
Which this isle...
It's funny because at first they're like, is everyone like cheering for us? Yeah. They're like, we're like the stars of the show.
We just show up and they love us.
They put them in like this amphitheater and they're like, hey.
And they're like, oh, you're going to receive a gift. And like, you have to just say like, thank you. And like, take it. And they're like, okay, sick.
Yeah.
And they start like one by one, and like,
Dane
gets like a slap. Is it Dane that gets slapped in the face?
I think so.
And he has to go, thank you. And like, I don't remember everyone's, but like Violet gets a broken compass, which comes back to one of my theories, so I won't touch on it now.
Oh, okay.
And then Drake, who I'm not gonna lie, he's really minor, but anyway, Drake gets a cat. I don't remember what Xaden gets. Someone gets a box that has nothing in it.
Was that Xaden?
Because I think maybe Mira did, because she's all like pissed about it. She's like, we put in my stupid box.
So Arik gets a fractured hand mirror. It cuts his thumb. She gets the broken compass.
I have no idea.
Oh, he got the box of nothing.
Xaden did?
Yeah, he goes, you can put it in my box of nothingness.
Yeah.
We'll keep them on the bedside table.
Dane gets slapped in the face. Someone gets like a kiss on the cheek, I think.
Riddick draws a card with a painted pair of lips, and the crowd cheers.
Of course it'd be Riddick.
Yes. And then Drake gets the claw.
Drake gets the little kitten. And then right after that, Traeger, who, is also not a huge significance, he gets shot with an arrow.
An arrow.
And dies.
Immediately.
And they have to say, thank you.
Thank you. And they're not allowed to react.
No.
They can't scream. They just have to take it and yeah.
They get nothing out of this isle.
No, they don't. Which Nothing for now.
No.
So you just have to wonder, like, these things that they had been given, does it mean anything? Or was this just what was the point of going to this place?
So then my next quote is after that, and then in chapter 40, and then chapter 41 is super important. So chapter 40, it's just about, like, they have to keep their gifts. They're like traveling with all this stuff they got. And she has that compass and all this stuff, and they're like, they have this kitten with them that's orange. And Drake says, like, I think we're off course. And, he's like trying to hold the cat and look at the map at the same time or something. And like Mira's like, give me that. And she takes the cat, and Drake goes, her name is Broccoli, not that. And then it goes, she looks at him like he sprouted whiskers. You named a kitten Broccoli? He goes, no one really wants broccoli, but it's good for you, so it seems fitting to me. And then they say something else, and then all of a sudden, like, they talk about something else, and Mira goes, why not carrots?
Yeah, she's so focused on it. Wait a minute. It doesn't make sense.
Orange. Yeah. But then it's kind of sad because you don't hear about broccoli like the rest of it. And I've seen so many funny things on social media, and it's like, wait, where's broccoli? What happened to broccoli?
So, I don't know, you're younger, but were you a fan of, like, Wedding Crashers at all?
Not if you're gonna bring something up. I'm not gonna be able to connect.
I was obsessed with that movie when it came out, and there's a scene at the end where what's his name, Vince Vaughn, is saying, like, God knows what happened to that kitten that you sent her, because you're not and like that's what I was thinking about this whole book. I'm like, where did the kitten go? Who's taking care of the kitten? Because a lot of things have happened, and I don't think it would be conducive to be flying around with this little baby kitten. I really hope we get back to baby Broccoli. And can you please bring up what you said you heard about the cat, like a theory?
Theory. Okay. This was from TikTok. It was in a comment, and I quoted it exactly. Someone had posted a video of, like, theories from this, and someone commented, something sus with broccoli. Maybe a spy, maybe a shapeshifter watching to see if dragonkind and humans are actually learning like the irids wanted.
I just love that, because it makes me think of Hermione's cat, and how Hermione's cat was never given justice in the movies, by the way. But she's a very special cat, and so maybe Broccoli is a special cat, and will reveal some powers later on, or save the day.
Oh my god! I just found the page with my other quote that I didn't know where it was.
What?
Okay. So in chapter 40, which is literally where I just quoted, so on page 336.
Okay, that's where I am.
336, they're at this other aisle that they feel magic or something, and they're like using this as a home base, and there's like a ton of tiny aisles by them, and they're like, okay, we're gonna split up. We don't have time for all of us to go to these, so like we're gonna pair off, and y'all are gonna go. And they start pairing off who's gonna go with who, and like, Marin and Kat are gonna go this way, Drake and Dane do this, Eric and Mira, Xaden and Garrick, and then Violet says Riddick and I, blah blah blah. And then she says, like, I kept the griffins close, I paired the dragons with similar flight strengths, and like Xaden's not happy about his pairing or their pairing. She says, except for ours, like, they have the best chance of staying in contact when separated, blah blah blah. It's better if they just split up. And he like raises his eyes, and Garrett goes, just you and me today, honey bear. Garrick swings his arm over Zane's shoulder. Don't worry. He leans in and whispers, I'll take good care of you. I thought that was funny. But this is so funny to me because it is, I don't even know if there's a name. I think they just end up at this random place.
Well, they're there to bury
Traeger.
They have to do that. So I think if that Isle of Luck is nothing but a moment where after that happens and they haven't made any progress on anything, they're all kind of like, what are we doing? What is the point of this? And this is a good moment where Violet kind of steps up and she's got a plan. Like, okay, let's refocus, and we're going to do this and that. So maybe that's the only point of that aisle.
And as dark as it is, like, I wonder if Traeger wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
If they would have stopped there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like.
Yeah.
did that death lead them there?
Yes.
Because everyone leaves, and Riddick and Violet are just chilling.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and it's a few hours have passed, I think, actually. Like, it's not immediate. A few hours have passed. All of a sudden, these dragons show up, and they can hear these dragons in their head, which you're only supposed to hear the mated dragons.
Yes.
And it's like a crew of like 7 or so irids have come to find them, which is interesting.
Yeah. And they say that Andarna is the criterion. And we're all like, and Riddick goes, is that a good thing? And they don't know. And Riddick and Violet, even though they can hear them, they're afraid to speak. And Andarna's kind of like, let me do the talking. These are my people. Let me figure some things out.
And of course, it feels like almost everyone in this book knows sign language for some unknown reason, except Sawyer, who's the one that has the crush on Jasenia, who only signs. So, like, that's funny.
Yeah.
So that's where I like this, because, like, Riddick, I feel like, is painted as kind of an idiot, but he's not.
No, he's not.
Then they decide that they have to sign to talk to each other, else they're going to know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And Andarna is so excited.
Yeah.
So excited.
She just wants to know, like, what am I? Where do I come from?
Well, yeah. Think about all the people.
What can you teach me?
Who, like, have a closed adoption, and they do all this stuff to find, like, you just want to find your family. And
and I hate this scene because immediately they're just like, you're with humans.
Yeah.
It's just, I get that sense that they're just looking down on her, and like, what have you let them do to you? And she's like, I didn't let them do anything to me. Like, this is just what we do.
Yeah.
And they're so disappointed in her.
Because she was a test.
Yeah.
Essentially. Could like the humans just be like civil? And they say that like the humans have turned Andarna into this like war killing machine, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, you're not worthy of our presence, of our knowledge, of anything. Like, you failed our test.
Yeah. And then Xaden shows up, and immediately they can tell that Xaden is Venom.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, you're disgusting.
It doesn't help the case.
This is not good. And then the fact that Andarna is like, no, he's okay. They're like, okay, this shows even more that you just don't get it.
Yeah.
They say like, like our hope for you just not go right. Clearly, like if you are okay with this guy, there's something wrong. And then they say, you've handed this human something far more dangerous to wield, haven't you? And we're just like, what? What did you give Violet that we don't even know? That we still don't know. But these dragons seem to know everything.
Yeah.
But then here's the next problem. Riddick is there. And now Xaden's secret needs to be shared with Riddick.
Which Imogen knows. That's how I say her name. I have no idea how to say it.
I was saying Imogene, but
Garrick knows, Bodhi knows, like a handful of they know to keep him safe.
Yeah, like his people. His people
people know. But then Riddick is like, you better do some talking here. And at this point, thankfully, I think only Xaden and Garrick have come back.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone is standing there.
And I don't have the exact quote, but this is where you just love Riddick even more. You're a little nervous about him finding out because he's pissed, and he's like, but it makes more sense now, like why you don't want him with other people. But he makes some sort of comment of like, I know I'm maybe the one that's always joking and being silly, but I see things and I know things and I care. And basically, like, he says to her, okay, you want me to keep this secret, I will, but you have to tell me what's the line. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, there has to be a line where if he crosses this line, we have to take him out.
Yeah.
So you've got to give me the line. And Violet is just like, I don't, she's like, there isn't a line. He's not going to do it. And he goes, no, you have to give me a line. Otherwise, I'm not going to accept this. And basically she decides, okay, if he unprovoked hurts one of our writers, then that's the line. And he goes, okay, so then that's that. And, he accepts it. Again, they're just like, they're such good friends to each other.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. I really love the family that they've created within their own little squad. But,
then they leave, and all they have is an orange cat, a broken compass, an empty.
But at least now, well, they still don't know much about Andarna, and Andarna is devastated.
Yeah.
She kind of just like flies off, and she doesn't talk. She like kind of dims the bond. She doesn't want to talk about it. But we didn't bring up it. Did we find out that she's an irid because of the I don't know how to say her name.
Oh.
We didn't bring her up.
I don't know.
So there is a dark wielder, a Venin, who is stalking kind of Violet.
She like writes her love letters.
She is also a lightning wielder.
Yes.
And this is a problem because Violet thought like her special sauce is the fact that she is a lightning wielder, and this is dangerous to them. But now it's like, but if they also have a lightning wielder, doesn't she have silver in her hair too?
I think so. I think there are a lot of similarities between the two of them.
And it looks like Stephanie, but with a Theo. So Theophany.
It's like, something like that.
And she is very curious because, and this is where I start to wonder if Venin may not be all bad, or there are other things that the government is hiding that makes them bad. But her tactic with trying to get Violet is, I can tell you things. Like, you want the information and I have it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was her that says, your dragon is an irid. And Violet is just like, Ava, Yeah. And it's just like, you want to know this, you want to know that. I can tell you, I can teach you. You just need to come with me.
She's interesting because she doesn't want Violet dead by any means.
No.
They've had so many encounters, and she's like,
no, she wants to use her for something. Yeah. And then we get to the part where Violet is in another one of her dreams.
Yeah.
And in one of these dreams, I thought I marked it, but the sage is saying something in the dream about like, we want her. We want her. And at first you're thinking, if this is Violet's dream, maybe they want Andarna because she's so different, right? But it turns out that he's talking about Violet.
Yes.
And he says something, so it's really Xaden's dream. Oh my gosh. Okay. You are ours, the sage's eyes narrow with malice. You will bring what I want, or she dies. I'm through waiting, and I will not allow her to win such a prize. And I think this sage is talking about Theophany, who is trying to get Violet.
Yeah.
And so I think
it doesn't seem like they're working together.
No, it seems like she's trying to get to Violet before this guy does.
Yeah.
And so it just shows to you that Violet is something special, something powerful that these two Venin really want in their camp.
She's the one that I could see the argument of Venin not being bad. The other sage is just kind of like, you give evil. Yeah. Like, you give evil.
But she's not afraid of doing bad things and killing people.
She's not a delight.
No, she's not. But there's something there that like we can learn from her.
Yeah.
So in this part, Violet's having this horrible dream. She realizes a dream and she's able to wake up out of it. And then she notices that Xaden is also suffering from a dream. So she wakes him up, and then they learn that she was in his dream.
Yeah, she's dreamwalking.
Like, it wasn't me. And so then she starts thinking about it, and then she starts realizing it's not just Xaden's dream that she's been in. She's been in
Kat's or Marin's dream.
She's been in Marin's dream. And so, of course, the theory is, he says, that you must be a dream walker.
Yeah.
And so the theory, like, is this her second signet, or is it something more to it?
The interesting thing with Violet is if you do Violet and Xaden both, so this is one of the theories, if you do the math, signet-wise, you get one dragon, you have a signet.
Yeah.
Violet's got 2 dragons, so she should have 2 signets.
Mm-hmm.
But Terran's old rider, people believe, is a relative of Violet's.
Okay.
Naolin, that guy.
Okay. Things about Naolin, or however we say his name. He's the one that they said died
saving
Brennan.
Yeah.
But they never actually say that he died.
They say he gave everything.
They say he gave everything. And Taryn will not talk about it. He says, we will not talk about
people think he's
the one who came before us. And so people are thinking he's Brennan.
Correct.
Like maybe he channeled to save Brennan.
Yeah. And people think that he is either like her father's brother, like he's a relative to them. So when you do the math, if a dragon has bonded to a relative, you get another signet.
Yeah.
And then she has 2 dragons, so she should have 3.
Yes.
Xaden has 1 because he's bonded, but all the I was about to call them dark ones because that's what Taryn calls them. Marked ones have a second one.
Yeah.
And I feel very confident that she bonded one of his relatives too.
Yes, it was somebody in his line. That's how she figured out that he had a second signet, because there was someone in his line.
But then all of a sudden we start to realize in this book that all the marked ones have a second. So that means
he might have a third.
He should have a third one, and she should have a third one.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, because like I know we know Bodhi's, we learned Garrick's. I don't know if we learned Imogen's second, but like the math makes sense that they should have 3.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if this is the one she gets, if this does turn into a big signet, and if it's the one she gets from bonding because of the relative, or from Andarna. I don't know. I want Andarna's signet that she gives her to be something so wild.
Me too. I don't
want it to be like dream walking.
I don't think dream walking is from Andarna. No. I really don't, because Andarna doesn't even know her whole true powers yet. And she's got like this camouflaging thing about her. She's got the time thing.
She's got to give her something.
She can kill venom, and I think she has given Violet some kind of power like that, because where were they? Were they at the Truth Island with the mom, where she was the only one who could still have her bond with Taryn? Everybody else was cut off from their dragons, but she could. And so it's just another example of Violet has something that everybody else does not. And I think the venom know about her.
And if it is just dreamwalking, that's so lame. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's something definitely.
People believe she's like full in whatever the word
intrinsic?
Is. Yeah. People believe that she could be full. People also have a theory that like maybe she can kill people in their dreams, blabbity blue. But it's got to be more than just dreamwalking, because that's lame. And I'm curious, like, if Xaden will have a third one.
Well, because now I don't remember, but she has the dream again, and then instead of like being Xaden,
interacts.
She's able to get in herself.
Yeah.
And she like change and influence things.
Yeah, she's able to interact in the dream, and I think that's why people think like, oh, then she can walk into people's dreams and kill them, because she's able to control herself in the dream all of a sudden. So
there's a lot still to come with Violet, and the theories are abound.
I also have to, because we brought up Theophany or whatever.
However we say her name.
So I can't pull up the actual meme because it was on my phone, which is recording, but I found the picture from the meme, and the quote with this is like Theophany writing her letters to Violet. It's like a little angry clay penguin
with a heart
making like glitter, maybe like Valentine's Day letters or something.
Okay, you have to send that to me. We're gonna have to post it on Instagram,
because she like never gets a reaction from Violet, and she just keeps sending these letters. And I was like, oh my god, this one is so funny.
People are so good.
Oh,
the internet never disappoints.
But I just had to, because we were talking about her. But man, so yeah, they come back, and this is when Theophany and all of them really like things amp up very quickly.
Yeah,
at the end, because all hell breaks loose somewhere. Me and the maps. I want to say it starts with a C.
Ooh, we are not good on our locations on this one.
Hell no. I haven't been good at the location since this series started. I need to go to like any bookstores offer a class and someone can come in and teach me before I have to.
Okay, guys, today.
Wasn't there a place called like
Oh man.
Corden? Yeah, at the bottom. At the bottom of right there. Is that where all hell breaks loose?
I don't remember because I thought they were home when things went bad because they had to guard the ward stone.
I thought they're at Orisha, I thought.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but they have to fly somewhere. It doesn't break loose in Orisha, does it?
Oh, okay. So yes. We know it is when they're at home at Orisha because she's had that dream. And then
why do I think they had to go somewhere and they were like, we're gonna protect the people here or something?
Because remember,
it's getting too close.
They were she figured out the thing about her dream, and then she was thinking, did I dream walk in Marin's dream? So they go to Marin to ask her, and it's when they're talking to her that Taryn is like, a horde is coming, we're under attack. And so it's there at Orisha. And it's like a few dozen. Yeah, it's there at Orisha.
Damn.
Now I don't know if something happened before that. It probably did. I'm pretty sure there was.
What town are we in when? Because they're in a town at some point, though.
Oh, that's right. That's much earlier. They go back to, is it Marin's hometown to get her brother or Kat? Somebody's brother, like her parent. I think it's Kat. Like, oh
no, this is when Quinn dies. This is right at the end.
Oh, but I'm thinking that you're thinking.
Yes, I know what you're thinking.
Was it Marin's family? Like her parents were killed, but they were able to save a sibling?
It was Ree's, I thought. Wait, is Ree's whole family? No, only Ree's siblings survived. They have Ree's siblings somewhere. But I do think they went to visit Marin's family, but I think there was actually
I thought.
Or are they backwards?
No, I thought Ree's family was fine. Oh man, I'm sorry, guys.
No, I'm way at the end. I'm not at that.
Okay. Well, point is, things are going bad. But before Quinn, though,
they are somewhere else.
Before that, while they're getting under attack at Orisha, Andarna's person, one of her dragon people, come back.
Yes.
And they fire up the ward stone.
Yes. And they've also realized they weren't talking about the original 6 or like the most powerful riders need to fire up the ward stone. It was the dragons. Yeah.
And they needed the 7th.
They translated like one word wrong.
Yeah. And so this dragon comes and he fires the ward stone and pretty much brings them back online. But he needs to take Andarna. And basically gives her the choice, like, you want to learn, you can come with me. Like, they judge you unfairly, but there's much that you need to learn and you got to leave and you got to break the bond.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, you can do anything.
Yes. And that's when Violet like goes
and yeah, but the dragon says, well, what would you have her do? And Violet says, well, I'm not gonna keep you. I want you to live. I want you to thrive, even if it doesn't mean that you can't be with me. And so Andarna leaves, and Violet is gutted.
I know how she dies. I was trying to figure out where it is.
Quinn, like that's like at the very end. Wasn't it from Imogene's perspective? So that's another thing. Like when we get towards the end of the book,
because that ending, everything's happening, and like Eric is like, you need to go to this temple.
Yep, there's a lot happening at the very, very end, and then we switch point of views.
Yeah.
So then we've got Rhiannon's point of view, then we have Imogene's point of view, then we go back to Violet, then we go to Xaden, and like everything is happening at once.
Okay, I don't think it's the place that I had come up with, but they do have to go. They do have to go somewhere. Yeah, Dratheus. I stand in a field in front of, this is on chapter 56, which is 462.
Okay. You're talking about like during the battle where they have to go. Gotcha. They have to leave where like they are. Okay, yeah.
Wait, no, that's also part of the dream. But I believe they have to go somewhere, and this is where everything. Yeah, we fly for Dratheus. Yeah. They'll attack as soon as they get what they want. Blah blah blah, and leave Sorrengail to die. Yada yada yada. And this is when we go back and forth. The ending is so fast. You have so many different point of views. This is where we learn Garrick can not time travel. He can go from here to there with snap of his fingers.
And Theophany has taken Mira.
Yes, Theophany has Mira, so they're like, we have to go get Mira because they're like, we can't let her just die. And Theophany makes the point on 474 when they get there. She says, and yet you seem to have lost your irid. How convenient, And then she has a knife to her throat. Speak again, blah, blah, blah. But then this is actually where she does slit her sister's throat. And then this is when they have to. Brennan comes in and
Brennan is there and Bodhi, and she was like, I didn't ask for either of you to attend. And he goes, I thought you requested brothers.
Yes.
And she's like, that's not what I mean. And Violet knows what she means. He's on the way.
Yeah. And this is where we have Theophany starts they start that battle. Mira is using. No, Brennan is using Sloane again as a siphon to heal Mira because Mira is about to die.
But Brennan is on the brink of burning out as well.
Yes, he's also about to burn out. Dane shows up, and then I love when Xaden's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, following her ass. She's under my command. But he's talking about Sloane.
Yeah.
And then this is when we've got the showdown between Violet and Theophany.
Yeah.
We've got the showdown with Xaden and the Sage, who throws all these weird hints that lead to so many theories about because we get Xaden's point of view. We've got the point of view of, I don't even know who's Riddick and them are on some cliff trying to defend. Quinn dies, who is Imogen's friend.
Yeah.
So much happens.
And then, and in Rhiannon's point of view, you get to see how much she's grown over the few books. She is a squad leader. She's
on the cliff with Riddick too, isn't
she? Yes, but she is also they're relying on her to make sure you go here, you go there, and she's really kicking ass, but she is filled with so much responsibility and fear. If I make the wrong call, she doesn't want to lose any of her people,
Yeah.
And so her point of view is very, very stressful. She's trying to make the right call and not help people because of fear, but because of tactical moves. And she's in a tough position, but I think she manages it all beautifully.
Yeah. So we get Rhiannon, Quinn, and Xaden's point of view, I think, right at the end.
And Violet.
It goes back, yeah. So basically, she and Theophany have this whole thing. Theophany, whatever. Violet realizes she can avoid Theophany killing her by standing on a dragon or something. She's able to avoid that. At the same time, you've got Xaden with the Sage. And this is really interesting because at some point the Sage is talking about taking harming her and taking her scales or whatever, and you realize he's talking about his dragon, so he channels even more to save his dragon, which she's pissed because she doesn't want him to do that.
Yeah.
So then he goes even more you've got all this stuff happening, and then the last chapter just was unbelievable. I don't even know if it was like a full chapter.
Well, and I don't know how this happens because so much is going on, but we learned something about Eric.
Oh, when what his signet is.
His signet is like, they call it precog, pre-recognition, like he can kind of forecast things, and he sees the importance in like the goddess of Dun or whatever, the high priestess of the temple, and he sends her a letter and a dagger or a weapon at some point. And I'm not really sure how it gets to her. I'm so confused as to how it happens, but she has delivered this.
I remember she gets it and she doesn't open it. She
doesn't open it right away. Yeah. And then she finds the package because Taryn is very badly wounded. Mm-hmm. And she finds the package because it like falls over and it says, "For when you lose yours, strike in the dark, Violet." And it's a gift from one servant of Dun to another. I must warn you, only those touched by the gods should wield their wrath. Mm-hmm. I will pray to her that she need not use it to avoid reacquainting herself with the others who carry her favor. Her path is still not set. And so she's just like, how would Eric know that I'd lose my dagger? And then,
and then also he says swing in the dark. And so Xaden at one point fills this canyon with his shadows. Yep. And that's the moment. So like Eric is seeing all of this.
And she's able to kill Theophany with this weapon. And it's the only way that she could have done, because I think at one point we learned that Theophany was part of the temple. Mm-hmm. And because she like backed out,
and I think that's the hair.
Yes. Yeah. And she backed out on this promise that she made to the god, and so by killing her or hitting or striking her with this dagger into her heart, she dies.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's wild. So once again, Violet is able to take care of herself, and Xaden doesn't believe that she can or that she will, and so he takes more than he should. And if you want to talk about
the
end.
Second to last chapter, we get Xaden's point of view. And it's him and this sage, which does have a name, but I don't know how to say it. Bearwin, whatever. They say some things. They talk about Xaden's like, why is he here? And this sage is like, that's your brother. Yep. And so we don't know who that is, who this other Venom is. But then it ends with he is talking to his dragon. And, like, it's very cryptic.
Yeah.
So it says on 523, and this is like back and forth. His dragon says, you cannot mean to, and you saw what happened its only way, and you think she'll help. She loves me. Taryn does not, and you haven't looked in a mirror yet. The red veins branching from your eyes look like her lightning. He says she'll help. She promised. And then, even if she agrees, no one will. And then he says, someone owes me a favor. He'll never let you near her, especially when she lies in a vulnerable state. He's all like, oh my God, is she hurt? She's like, yes, but she will survive. They've completed the wards, but they extend no further than Dratheus or wherever they are. And then he says, like, in his head, he's like, that's good. I don't know. What am I? And he says, hers. And he says, persuade Taryn, I beg. Everything depends on it. We will ask, she says, and her decision will determine our fate. You're like, huh?
Yeah, like what is happening?
And then you get the last chapter, which is Violet, which is 2.5 pages.
But also, by the way, before she passes out after killing Theophany, Andarna's back. And Andarna literally just left and broke everyone's heart, but she's back. And she wakes up and you hear Andarna say, I will not let them burn you. And she's just like, what? Like, why would my brother burn me? And she goes, something is wrong. And I don't think Andarna's talking to Violet.
I don't think so either. Because it doesn't go, like, after Violet says, what? Why would my brother burn me? we don't hear anything from Andarna.
Yeah, she doesn't respond. I don't think Andarna was talking to her. I wonder if it was Xaden who runs away. No, I will not let them burn you. Who is she talking about? I don't think she's talking to Violet at all. But Violet is very confused. Brennan is there.
She's in the gravel in the courtyard.
Yeah, which is not where she was when she passed
out. So they're back at Orisha at the house, and Brennan's there. Let's see. It's 3:00 in the morning. Where have you been? Mm-hmm. His voice rises, and then she's like, "Where have I been?" And then this officer is like, "Blah blah blah."
We have 5 riders missing.
Yeah. Official numbers are 4 riders of dragons and 3 elders murdered in the valley. 5 riders missing, and they also have 6 missing eggs from the hatching ground. And then missing eggs, they reach return, but the bond feels foggy. And then Andarna all of a sudden is like, "Oh, he needs a cycle of rest to recover." And she's like, "Recover from what?" And then, Andarna goes off again.
Mm-hmm.
No response. So anyway, this is where they are trying to get Violet. Like, where is Xaden? We don't know where he is. Mm-hmm. All this stuff. And she's like,
and they're convinced this is Xaden. Xaden did this.
She's like, I don't know. Like, I haven't. I can't like process. She doesn't even know how she got here. Mm-hmm. And then they're talking about like who's missing. Like, they say Garrick's missing. Like, they haven't seen him in a while. And then Imogen says, "Your finger." She goes, "My finger?" And then she goes, "Oh, I think I broke my arm." She looks down. Her left arm is splintered, and a beautiful gold ring with an emerald the size of my thumbnail sits on my hand. Oh gods, I know that stone. It matches the others in the blade of Orisha upstairs in Xaden's nightstand. Is it the missing one? And she goes, "What is happening right now?" And Brendan's like, "You don't know?" And then he turns the paper from, like, she has a paper in her pocket, and it says, "This carries the seal of Dun. May I open it?" And she's still, like, looking at this ring.
Yeah, she's just like, uh-huh.
He's like, "Okay." And then she's like, "It's 3 a.m. I'm in Orisha. There's murdered dragons, riders, missing eggs. Xaden wouldn't do that, all this stuff." And then Brennan says, "It's an official blessing of your legal binding marriage by the head priestess of Dune's temple." And she goes, "To Xaden?" And then she's like, "We're married?" And then he says, "I think the note on the outside is meant for you." She flips it over to see Xaden wrote something. It says, "Don't look for me. It's yours now." And then she says, "How long have I been missing?" Brennan says, 12 hours. And immediately she looks at Imogen and says, "What did you do?" And the last line of this book is she slowly lifts her gaze to mine. "Well, you asked me to." Because she realizes she's messed with her memory. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, I'll just go about my life.
And that is the end.
Go about my life now.
Okay, I guess, yeah. What you asked me to. So clearly, there is some big plan that Xaden has, and she agreed to it. But I guess to save him, she can't remember it. And so she asked, that's my guess, that she asked Imogen, like, "You're going to have to erase all of this for me so I don't tell it where he is, where do we go from here?
So here's some TikTok theories. And I did grab ones that I didn't think were immediately debunked, because some were like very quickly debunked. I was like, I already mentioned that Xaden has a 3rd signet, which I believe. This one is really popular. The broken compass that Violet receives will lead her to Xaden.
Okay.
Like, I think that sounds legit.
That would be cool. I would love for something like that to come back.
People say Andarna's the one that broke Taryn and Sagal's, or whatever, their bond. So Xaden and they could be separated.
Oh, yeah. And that's why he's recovering, probably.
Yes.
He's probably devastated.
Because earlier, somewhere in the book, they mentioned that, like, Andarna can do that.
Yes, because when they were saying, when the dragons were telling her to break her bond with Violet, she was like, "I don't know how to do that." And they said, "You absolutely can. You have that power."
People say that Garrick isn't at the end because he's taking the eggs to the Isles to gain allies because he can. His signet is like that jumping whatever. The whole Naolin or whatever is Venin saving blah blah blah. People believe that Malgrin Green, that evil guy, is Venin and Eric is his balance because they're both precogs. But Malgrin can't see when there's more
than
marked ones or whatever. I don't know. I already said the funny one about broccoli. But those are like, I mean, there's a whole debate on who is the brother, and like, people have theories about that. I didn't write any of those down because
I've seen Bodhi.
I've seen Bodhi.
I've seen Eric actually.
I've seen Eric. The Liam one gets debunked pretty fast. Apparently Rebecca said somewhere like he's dead, blah blah blah. And I think Xaden says like, how could he do this? He's seen me struggle the last few months, so you know it's someone who's been around him.
Yeah. Which would make sense for Bodhi.
Yeah.
Because they argued a lot in the beginning, like because he kept wanting to be around Violet whenever he didn't want him alone with Violet.
Yeah.
And they would argue about that a lot. So I wonder if that's who it is. Because who else was close to him?
And Rebecca said it's pay attention to who's missing at the end.
Okay.
When someone asked her like who is the brother, the Venin brother, she says, I saw the video, it's like pay attention to who is not there at the end, which would be Garrick, Bodhi, Eric. I mean, at the end they only mentioned Brennan, Imogen.
Yeah.
Like hardly any of them.
Exactly.
So there's a huge list of people it could have been. But then you have to connect who's been around him the last few months as well, because he does make that.
I think I mean, it could be anybody, right? But I think if I had to choose, it would be Bodhi or Garrick. Those are the closest to him.
Those are, I think, like,
That would stress him out, you know? I'm so curious where we go from here, because if she has no clue about where he's going and he is very determined to be gone, I kind of have it in my head that he married her so that she is now in charge of Arisha. Like, just makes her what? Like a Duchess? So he knows that in the end she'll do the right thing for their land.
Yeah. But you've also got to know that, like, she just went through hell and back to try to find a cure for him. And he says, I can't remember what book, he says something about, like, is it Iron Flame, or the beginning of this?
I think it's the beginning of this, where he said, there's no cure for me.
There's no cure for me, but he also mentions when they're training, when he's professor, and, like, he puts all the shadows around her. He says something about, like, you have to know how to find me, or, like, you have to be the one to, I think it's something about finding me. There's some weird quote he has.
But then he also always says, you'll be the death of me.
There's no way she's just going to sit back and be, like,
no,
holding counsel.
No.
Quest Squad Part 2.
I don't know. I'm stressed out. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I have all these worries of that in the end she is going to have to make the choice between, like, the good of the people or him. And I think at the end of the day she will choose the people because that's the right thing to do. But my God, is it going to devastate her?
But you also still have Bodhi and Garrick and Imogen, so it's like, someone's got, I don't know. Also, how can Imogen, after that, like, she obviously knows what happened. She's, like, one of the only people, unless Garrick and all the other missing ones know what happened too. Would it not eat you alive? Unless
she only knows, listen, we're married. He's run away. I can't tell you where it is. I don't want to know where it is. You need to erase for me now. And is that enough for Imogen to be like, okay? Because then she knows nothing either, other than this is what happened. This is what everybody knows. I don't know. My gosh. I wish we had some sort of timetable of when the next book was coming out, because this one has just imploded my brain.
I've heard 2026.
Oh.
I know. But
realistically, that's not as far away as you think.
She wrote these so fast, I felt like.
Well,
let me look up when they were published.
Well, she clearly has an idea in her mind of where this is going and what's happening with everything. It's just a matter of putting it together, and with all these details, I can't imagine it.
And it gets more and more complicated. So
it does, and that's why I feel a little not so great about this one, just because there's a lot of things that we're missing and a lot of big, strong details or certain moments. But clearly, if you're listening to this, you've read the book and you enjoy it as well. And so anything that we've missed, you've come across, please comment. What's something that we didn't touch that we should have that you think is super important?
But also be nice because there's so much.
I know there is so much. We finally got our first comments on Spotify by someone called Just a Book Dragon. And this person is more of an ACOTAR fan than a Fourth Wing fan.
That's fine.
Yeah, we all love it. But this person did mention that like in the beginning loved the book, but then realized that there's like a lot of repeated phrases like kidneys and climb him like a tree and Taryn flies faster than ever before, things like that. And I replied back that totally noticed certain things that are repeated a lot.
I feel like every romantasy does
but that. I said that like my one thing that I noticed in ACOTAR, and I think I mentioned it once, was the mention of calloused hands.
Oh.
I feel like in every other chapter, one guy has got these calloused hands running over her. There's just certain things that are just going to get repeated a lot.
See, I feel like in romantasies, the main male character specifically always repeats certain things.
Yeah.
Like, he calls her violence so much.
Violence, yeah.
ACOTAR, Feyre Darling. Mm-hmm. I know we haven't touched on them, but like, there's From Blood and Ash, and then the like prequel series. There are so many repeated quotes. Like this, he's not the main male character, but another male character was like, "Oh, you have questions? That's such a surprise!" And it gets like, and then they're like, "Oh, did she stab you too?" Like, there's certain things you're.
You know what I love of Xaden's? Well, the fuck aware.
Yeah,
I love when he says that one.
So Fourth Wing, the first book was published May 2nd of 2023.
Oh wow!
Let me go to Iron Flame. Sorry, my nasal.
So May of 2023.
May of 2023. Iron Flame was published November 7th of 2023. What?
May to November.
And then, I mean, the release date of Onyx Storm was this past January, but let's see if they have what. Yeah, January 21st, 2025.
Oh.
There's a huge gap in between those two.
Wow, this is, in terms of pages, it's not much longer, but in terms of depth and geography and background, I mean, we didn't even really touch upon all the things in her dad's letters. There's just a lot going on here.
It also makes me wonder if Rebecca, like, did she pre-write some of Iron Flame after, like, she wrote Fourth Wing and then like flew right into Iron Flame because it does.
Yeah.
And so she just had like a head start. I don't know writers and their processes.
Yeah.
I also know that like a lot of publishers, you have to, who was I saying? Some author I've seen before was talking about in her contract, she has to produce a book a year.
Was it Lisa Jewell?
It might have been like a book a year.
Yeah.
So apparently she and Sarah J. Maas don't have strict contracts.
No. Because I think with fantasy, it's different from, like the mysteries that we love to read.
And they're one-offs these are like complex series.
Yeah, and you're putting together a whole world.
Yeah.
And almost a lineage.
Yeah.
And so to kind of keep that in check, like I said before when we were reading ACOTAR, like I imagine like she's got to have a whole map of a wall of like this person goes to this and all the pins and the things that are connected.
My God, the farther you get in Throne of Glass, Throne of ACOTAR was one thing. Throne of Glass made me, and like, Rebecca, your mind is great too. I just need to reread your stuff. I'm sorry to appreciate it, but Throne of Glass is just like Sarah J. Maas has like savant level genius
Yes.
something. Like there's a part of her brain that is activated that we don't have. Like I'm convinced because you're just like, what?
Yes, because well, actually, it reminds me a little bit of Anne Rice, who does all the interview with the vampire books.
Yeah.
And so I read all of the Mayfair witches, and that got hard to contain after a while too, because she's talking about like generations and generations before, and you're just like, wait, how do they connect? And but then she'll bring one character up that was like 3 times removed, and yeah, Sarah J. Maas has that, and I noticed that I'm only in the second book of the Throne of Glass series, and we're talking about like a queen that was so many hundred years before, and then her husband, and then his family before him, and I'm like, how do you keep this together?
Yeah, it's wild.
It is wild, and I have great respect for people who can do this, because I couldn't.
No,
I couldn't. And so if you want to have complaints about these books, I mean, you're all entitled, but to be able to put this together, even if it is complicated and confuses me sometimes, I think it's still pretty brilliant.
This series is definitely next on my reread list.
Yeah.
Which tomorrow, today is May 19th when we record this. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow is supposedly the release of the paperback Iron Flame.
Iron Flame here in the States.
Which I'm super curious because, so on my bookshelf, this and Fourth Way were right next to each other. Mm-hmm. And I went to grab it. This is a touch taller.
Is it?
By like a finger width.
Okay. I can.
Because my hands like touched it and I was like, wait a second.
Something is off in the force.
So I'll be curious to see what Iron Flame looks like, but
I'm gonna check it out, because if it is the same size, I'm getting it, because I do not like that I have Fourth Wing and then I've got the one in the middle that doesn't match, and then I have this. Yeah. So yeah.
So where do we go to next?
Maybe we should take a fantasy breather and do another couple mysteries before we delve back into fantasy.
Yeah. Because I don't even know what's the next fantasy series. Throne of Glass?
Yeah, well, I'm only on book 2. I'm close to finishing book 2, but
we could pace it out.
Yeah, we can pace that out and start getting into that, but maybe we can get back into some of our mysteries. I know we both read The Last House Guest. We both read
oh my god, yeah.
Heiress.
The Last House Guest, I would legit have to sit and reread, because the fact that I purchased the book thinking I hadn't read it, sat down in Chicago and like looked at it and was like, wait a damn second, pulled up my Goodreads, marked so as funny. Read. I was like,
and you bought it? Wait, do you have 2 copies of it then?
No, I looked, which confused me, but when I lived in Oklahoma, I did use the library system there, because you can get books a lot faster.
Okay.
So I bet I read it then.
Yeah. Well, we both read The Heiress. Yeah. And I think there's something else. We'll figure it out, but I think maybe we should go back to a little mystery.
Yeah.
Take a break for a little bit.
My brain needs a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I need a brain cleanse.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on book 2 of Throne of Glass, and I'm liking it, but I am feeling like I need to step out of these worlds for a moment, collect myself, solve a good murder perhaps. Yeah. And be like have something solved and done and figured out. That would feel so good, because right now everything is I don't know. And so it would be nice to just have something like, oh, that's what happened. Got it. Well, if you have stuck around this long, I appreciate it. We've had some new followers on Instagram. That's been nice. Welcome. Hope you're listening, watching, sharing, and just tell us your thoughts. Tell us your theories. The more unhinged, the better. Do you have any last words, dear Kira?
No, but I'll remember to send you the penguin meme thing.
Yes, because when this episode comes out, I want to be able to post that, because that's funny.
It was like, it's a slide of pictures on TikTok, and it's like memes from Onyx Storm, and they're like, I just remember that's the first one. It's like the Daphne writing her letters to Violet.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Love it. I wish I was creative enough to create my own memes.
Oh, yeah, no
I'm
way.
so bad at it. I try, and it just doesn't.
I'm that annoying person, like, in real life, things will happen, and then, like, I picture a TikTok sound. Like, we had friends over, and they wanted to see the nursery, and I was like, hope you're hungry for nothing. And I was like, okay, I need to stop that.
They're just like, yeah, okay.
I was like,
oh goodness. Oh goodness. Well, as usual, thank you. Like, share, comment, rate, review. I don't know, all those things. And we hope to see you back.
Don't tell us about all the things we messed up on though.
I know we did, but we're just two girls. We're just two babies reading.
Maybe we'll do a reread episode months from now and it'll be better, but
maybe like there'll be a couple of theories come out and then we can kind of deep dive that a little bit more.
We'll see.
Okay. Hang in there with us and